a YouTube celebrity.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, let's call together the, to order the planning board, meeting for the town of Mendon for tonight, which is November 16th, 2022. And our first order of business is to approve our minutes from the September 21st, 2022 meeting. Does anyone have any comments or questions or revisions to these minutes? No? No? Anybody like to make a motion that we approve the minutes?
Motion to approve.
Second? What's the matter, Earl?
Oh, second.
Oh, okay. Well, you're looking at me, you got your minutes, you got your minutes open like this and you're looking at me and I'm thinking, oh, what did I miss? Okay. All right. So then our next, what? Oh, that's right. Thank you. I threw me off my game. Okay. Anybody, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, then we are good. The next item on our agenda is the Song Special Use Permit Public Hearing. I see we have some public, so hello, public. And why don't you guys start off by kind of telling everyone what you're thinking about doing in the old Mendon Walk?
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I guess we should just start with our journey here is our primary goal was to find Jennifer an office.
I'm a
So
psychologist,
she's
so
she's a PhD in psychology and she has a thriving practice. And she rents a space out of the RICO folks, Bushnell Space.
Mhm.
And this has been, I don't know, maybe over 10 years. She's at least
sure,
Right.
passively looking, like,
Yeah.
oh, you know, my office space is fine, but you know, if we found an opportunity, it'd be nice to have my own little space.
Yeah, so our primary mission was to find a office space for Jennifer, and we just couldn't find the right thing. And then we stumbled upon the previous Mendon Walk building, and it just kind of came together really quick. We were not, we're interested in primarily just using it as an office in the downstairs. And then things kind of slowly evolved. We talked about, there's this nice storefront there, but Jennifer doesn't need a storefront. She wants to have just an office. So we talked to some friends of ours who do hair, and they're interested in
Doing a hair salon.
doing a hair salon
In the
very
front.
Yeah, so the
Right.
front would be the hair salon and my office would be on the east.
yes, I saw that on your sketch. So,
Right,
Yeah.
and then we're hoping, the purpose of today is to get permission to rent the top as an apartment.
Right, and we didn't know, well, that wasn't our primary goal in getting a building is the apartment, but it's in great shape. It's something that people can afford. And, you know, we just feel like it'd be a great fit for the community. And you know, we're very excited to be in this community. We didn't know anything about Mendon when we started here, but you know, we've been enjoying our experience. We live in Victor right now, and so we're about 10 minutes away.
So you're pretty close.
Yeah, well, and I work with Mendon Pediatrics. They're
Oh, okay, so you're, yeah,
Yes.
so you're close and you know the area quite well.
Yes.
So, so when we look over your, so now we are just here to talk about the special use permit for the apartment.
Correct.
But because the business kind of encompasses kind of your whole future plan, and we are a planning board, so
Okay.
we might address some of those concerns also, just as we're talking back and forth.
Well,
So,
we are looking for as much information as possible, so that would be great.
okay, that is great. So I think one of the first things that came up was that the building happens to be within 500 feet of an EPAD, the historic EPAD number 5, so historic site conservation overlay district. So, we do have a letter. We did ask our HBC to take a look at it. And I'm assuming you did receive a copy of his letter also?
I did, and I spoke to Jeff Tesh.
You did?
I did.
Okay. You know, I see in here that he has a lot of, suggestions and a lot of concerns. So why don't you tell us what your plan for the exterior of the building is?
So yes, I talked to him at length, and he also forwarded me a picture of what it looked like, I think in 1880, or maybe it was 1840. And
1888.
was that the one? Okay. And we went back and forth, and I did explain to him that when we bought the building, we did not realize that we were going to be also investing a considerable amount of money into a new septic system, which I'm sure we'll get to. But at the same time, you know, we want to do the best we can. And when we took down that, we're calling it a shed, the little thing, you can now see the, I think they're called people stones. They're really cool. And so we talked about that and how we would love to be able to, you know, kind of keep that visible. And he asked, could we please keep those white doors? There's double doors there. And I said, sure, they're really cool. We'll keep those. And we're not doing a whole lot there in terms of, we're not building out anything.
Right.
So, except a window, we're going to be putting a window in. So what he would like us to do and what we agreed to do is to make the window look similar in terms of the trim.
Okay.
So if you look at, and I've got to go look at some of the buildings near us too to see what theirs look like. But that seems something like something we could do.
Right.
Okay. He said the window does not need to be wood, thankfully. It can be vinyl, and it just needs to sort of resemble what that window looked like
Back in the day.
back in the day.
Okay. So you two seem to have come to a pretty good
I think so, yeah.
meeting of the mind
Yeah.
there. And a few things that I wanted to say to the planning board is that I did notice that there is definitely a definition between those two historic buildings in your property. The you know, the creek or the stream runs right through there. There's kind of a tree line. So there's definitely a definition between the two places. And as it stands now, it pretty much does resemble the building to the west.
Correct.
Right? And you're not going to make a lot of structural exterior changes. So I think that would be okay. Thinking about the apartment, how do people get in and out of the apartment?
So on the west side, there's a little courtyard area, and there's a teeny deck thing, sorry, with two doors. And the door, if you're facing the deck, the door to the left goes quickly up the stairs.
Okay.
Yeah, so if you go to down the courtyard area and then you make a left, the door is right there.
Right, so they would have their own entrance very separate from here, and also separate, sorry, there. And my entrance will be on the east side.
Right, okay.
So the person, anyone renting would go in that door, they have their own entrance.
Okay, and then there's not a second exit from that apartment out, is there?
No.
So in event of an emergency, the windows are probably.
Right, which is why
I saw that on your.
I circled back. I went and measured to make sure, and I spoke to Corey. I spoke to Corey at length, actually. He came over and spent a long time explaining everything to me, which was amazing. I'm forever grateful. And, things that we didn't realize, like there has to be a barrier, a fireproof barrier between the floors. didn't even know that existed. So that will be happening.
Okay.
That would have been good for a Chinese restaurant too. but-
Yeah, it would have been really good
Yeah.
for them,
It's
right?
a little alarming, how many things we're seeing in there. It's a
Better,
little
better late than
crazy.
never.
But, yes,
Okay.
yes, we will definitely be doing that. I mean, our priority is safety.
Okay, so now the next thing would, well, first of all, does anybody have any questions regarding the things that we've just heard from Mr. and Mrs. Song?
What were you saying about this east-facing facade, cobblestones, or,
Can I show you?
I mean, it's blocked.
Right here.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah, you
Okay,
can't,
from the existing, but, and what,
yeah, these little stones right here.
okay, so what's your plan on, how is this going to look?
So this is going to continue for the rest, the way the rest of the building looks. This will get all covered, well, except for the door.
Well,
Will match this siding?
Oh,
this
this
will match
side,
this.
I'm sorry. Yeah, it'll match this.
this is blocked, and this is blocked.
Yep.
So
So this will be painted.
I would say you'd have to paint that to match that, and then
Correct.
terminate your siding right there.
Yep.
Where's the new window going?
And this is the door that, it,
No, I know, it's really crazy. So this will be my door, and my office is right behind this wall. This is the cool white double door they want us to keep, and this, when you enter this area, the whole area back here where yeah. So this is this door right here. And this whole space is unfinished, might be a future office space. This is where the new furnace is. Right now, this is just in storage.
this door, are
Yeah.
you saying that these are two,
Yeah,
it looks
I
like,
know, it doesn't look like it in the
it doesn't
picture,
look, it looks
but
like,
it does, it's two pieces in it.
I drove
looks
by
like
the other
cardboard.
day. It's,
you know,
and isn't it arched over the top too, or not?
I don't
No?
think so.
Okay, I missed that one. Okay, that
It's-
must have been in the
It's
dream.
super old, it's really, it's very
Yeah.
cool.
I'm assuming it's at least 3 feet, right?
Yes,
And Corey would have to address this, but it may have to, depending on the function of what's on the other side of the store, it may have to swing outward.
I disagree.
We could reframe
I
it.
don't know.
Yeah, we could reframe it. Yeah, the door was the door to the shed, so they stapled on like the shed onto the side of the building. And we removed it because we were advised by, I think it was Brent.
To
Somebody,
move the door?
no, to move the shed, to get rid of the shed.
Oh, yeah.
Because that would be a requirement to get our septic in. So we removed the shed, and that door is the door to the shed. So that was already there.
Well, and the white doors, double doors, that is where the Chinese restaurant did their loading.
Are you gonna be using those doors, or are they just going to be there for aesthetics?
I think aesthetics.
I know that the building is not our scope here, we're
Yeah.
just talking about the site, but I just want to ask a few questions about the building and because that might relate to the question I have about the site.
Okay.
Is there any connection? So your entrance is going to be this one that we're talking about here,
Yes.
correct? And that just goes to your own office?
Yeah, it goes, let me show you again. I need a visual. Yeah, so you come in here, and then there's gonna be a hallway, there's a door to the bathroom, and then this is my waiting room.
Is there any way, okay, because you have to have at least one accessible entrance, which this entrance on Rushman Road would be your accessible entrance. Is there any way to get from this point to this point in your
So
area?
this is also gonna be accessible.
So you're going to have a ramp, this is what I was getting, you're going to be having a ramp then up to this?
I think so,
Because it's quite
but the other
often-
option is there's a door here. So yes, you can theoretically go.
Okay, so there would be a connection from this point of entry to your space if someone would,
Yeah.
okay.
Oh, I'm not seeing, it.
Yeah, so here's the ramp.
No, but I'm not seeing it. It's like that game you used to play.
I know.
with Trace.
Say, if we had a better drawing to look at, it would really help the discussion. This is very sketchy. So just leaving that out.
We're gonna put the door,
Okay.
so you would come through and you'd be in the waiting room. Just this door is gonna be wide for wheelchair.
All right, so then you would not need to have this be an accessible entrance, so
I
you
would
wouldn't
not
have to
need
have a ramp there or any of that. So
Correct.
that's a big deal because that could be very obtrusive, you know, as far as the site goes and whether or not you even have the space for all that.
Well, and we kind of need a right, I agree.
Right, so that's good. So that
Okay.
connection must be maintained.
Okay, sure, we can make that happen. There already is a door. We should have. seen.
Right, well, with.
Okay. Any other questions so far? So let's get back to, we can talk about one or two things. We can talk first, let's talk first about the septic. What do you know about the septic so far? What are your plans for the septic?
Brad here. Oh, hi, Brad. I haven't met Brad in person, so I didn't know anything.
Oh,
We've talked on the phone a million times, so
It's gonna be an on-site wastewater system. It's not your traditional septic system. There is no space for a groundwater discharge. So the discharge will have to be to the storm sewer. It'll have to be permitted through the Department of Health, Department of Environmental Conservation, and because it's in the DOT right away, the Department of Transportation. You're looking at an aeration system. Probably looking at a Delta EcoPod because that can be retrofitted inside of a concrete septic tank. We're going to be sharing that space for that septic tank with the parking. So it's got to be traffic rated. And then following, there will be a settling tank, this aeration system, and then there will be a UV disinfection prior to the discharge into the storm sewer, ultimately into the Quick Creek.
and are you doing the drawings?
Yes.
What's going into the storm sewer? Is that storm water or their gray water?
It won't be gray water. It
Treated.
will be, it's essentially like pool water. It'll be going through the UV disinfection.
Oh, I see.
So any of the bugs, quote unquote, will be dead and through that UV disinfection. Unfortunately, you know, what we'll have to do is prove to the DEC and the Department of Health, there is no space for your traditional leach system, which there is not. And then that is a certified system, so it's gonna have to be inspected by a certified operator once a year, and they'll have to keep up their reporting to the DEC once a year on that system. Chose UV over chlorine disinfection because there's a readout. You know, the UV gives you how strong the light is. It tells you if it's going. If you're familiar with chlorine disinfection, not many people are familiar with chlorine disinfection. There's a lot that can go wrong with it.
That has its own digester system.
It's not a digester. It is an aeration system. But yes, so there will be extra sludge in the bottom of it. And yes, that'll have to be pumped out by a certified. If we go with Delta, it has to be pumped out by somebody that's certified to work on Delta EcoPods.
So is there a calculation as the volume of solids and how often that would have to be pumped?
It would be pumped out once a year. It would be sized to handle 1 year's worth of sludge. And that typically when the operator would come out to maintain the system on an annual basis, they would pump it down.
Who does the inspections? But I think you wouldn't want to go out 1 year to come in with a first inspection. I would think you'd do an inspection in 3 months or 4 months after operation to get.
There will be a startup period. The first startup is usually after 6 months.
What's the brand of the system?
It's a Delta.
Delta?
Delta, it's made by Infiltrator Wastewater Systems. Delta EcoPod.
And so my understanding from what you've just said is that you're working on the drawings.
Yeah.
They're not completed yet.
That's correct.
When they are completed, they are going to go to the DEC, the DOT, and the health department?
They'll go to the health department and the DEC first.
Okay, and then,
Once we've addressed their concerns, then we would go to the DOT, and that would be for a right-of-way work permit. It would
Okay.
have to be in the right of way.
okay,
This was going to be in the right of way then.
Connection to the storm sewer.
Okay,
The septic tank is, might be an inch outside of the right of way. That's why that shed needed to come down. The existing septic tank was underneath that shed.
what's the volume size of that?
There's gonna be a settling tank. The system that I'm looking at is designed for 750 gallons per day. So your settling tank, which would be your typical septic tank, will be 1,000 gallons, 5x8. And then there will be a smaller tank, probably a 750 gallon tank, which has your aeration system in it. The UV disinfection tank is, I'm gonna guess, somewhere between 350 and 500 gallons.
and this all is in the basement?
No, this will all be outside to the east of the building under the park,
Underneath the parking?
where that shed was.
Was
Oh,
over here, where the
okay.
dumpster is, right?
All right, all right.
Correct.
So it will it be enclosed? And will it be, will
It'll
it be
be below
screened?
Oh, it's
Oh,
underground.
underground, okay.
Underground. It's all
All
underground.
right,
So there can't be bituminous parking.
Yes, there can be, but this is gonna be traffic rated. It'll be traffic rated, and then we'll have to do a manhole cover,
Okay.
cast and brain manhole cover for access.
So we'll have an H20 or whatever rating for that area that DOT is going to find.
Earl, that's so close to the travel lane. I mean, it's gonna be within that lane, those tractor trailers, it's gotta be H20 rated.
okay. Any
Yeah.
other questions?
The only thing I would add is we've reached out to Myers Environmental to, and they've come out and they haven't given us any estimates but we've reached out to somebody who will implement the plan once
Oh, okay,
it's done.
once it's drawn, okay. And so then that's gonna lead us, I think, right into the parking.
So,
Which from what I had a conversation with Corey yesterday,
Mhm.
and he said that you had spoken to the DOT and that those spots that you have there are not considered, off-street parking.
so then I talked to another person at the DOT today and heard something different. So I talked to, Zachary, whoever was on the response we got from the,
From the Monroe County?
yeah.
Mhm.
I have it somewhere, I have it too. And, so I asked him, Corey suggested I just ask one more time, and he said we can use that as an ingress, that it's, because originally they had said, no, you can't pull in there because it's too close to the intersection and, right? But apparently we can, because they have to give us access to the building on one side, and that's better than the other side. So then now they're saying, no, you actually can pull in there.
Okay.
So then the question was, okay, well, how many cars are we allowed to like squeeze in? Like, how would that all work? And he said, we can put one, possibly two. We have to measure again. I didn't think we were gonna have any option, but one, hopefully two. It has to not be in there right of way. So if you look at the map that we have from the survey map, which is tiny. So I need to find a bigger one because I'm like, I can't even read this. But if you look at it, you'll see that where the shed is gone now. And there's also a cut in the curb, where it says gravel area. So we can pull in there and definitely get one for sure. And possibly, he said, if you're parallel to the side of the building there, which I'm not sure how that would work with the door, and you're right, the ramp, there's no way we can put a ramp there in the park. So, hopefully we can get two there.
Okay, so you do know that, one of the requirements from the town for a special use permit for the apartment is that there needs to be 2 designated spots for the
Yes,
apartment.
we are aware, and we talked to Cory as well, and, you know, I think we're gonna have to ask for a waiver or something, because we don't know what else to do.
Yeah, because, you know, we have, we might be able to squeeze in 2, but we won't really know right off the bat until we can actually work with, you know, after all the septic stuff and everything is done.
Right.
So, you know, we don't want to promise you 2 and then only be able to provide 1.
Right.
And
I did reach out to Mike Lease, who manages the buildings next to us and the big parking lot that they have, to see if they would rent spots to us. And he has not returned my call, so I can keep reaching out to see if that's something workable.
Okay, so, so then let's segue right into the office space and the parking then for your
Okay.
office space. So when I totaled up your square footage here, came up to like 1,192 square feet of office space.
Okay.
For every 150 square foot of office space, you need to have 1 parking spot. So when I
Right.
did the math on that, that was 8.
Right, which there's no physical way. Like, we would love to do that, but I honestly have no idea how we would do that.
yeah, the one thing
Where
that
would we,
I'm not saying that this is going to solve everything, but, you know, we will have Jennifer's clients only come one at a time. So we won't have a lot for, and we also have the hair. Are you guys doing a appointment only? Okay, so that's appointment only, and it won't be overnight. So, you know, I don't know. I think Jennifer, your latest client is like 7 today so far.
probably earlier than that. We're open to suggestions, but at this point, if 8 spots are required, then the building is essentially not usable.
Yeah.
So
There
then
you
what
have
do
it.
we do?
I don't know.
Do we knock it down?
What size is your office? And how much of it's maintained as an office?
It's 20 by 10. My space. Well, plus the
Space.
waiting room.
Well, no,
But-
there's a lot more. Her office is going to be basically the entire back half of the building in the
No,
front,
it's-
and
Where
they have,
along
and
with
the
it.
hair is the front.
Well, you're forgetting the whole cement part.
That's the waiting room.
No, where the heater is. That's not.
So
10 by
what does that
20.
belong to?
200 square feet.
Yeah.
1 parking place.
I'm not using this.
So he's got here, no,
Same
so
thing.
he's got 240 square foot here.
I know, but it's still.
168 here for the hair salon, 336 for the hair salon. This office
Okay.
space over here is 200
Okay.
feet.
We're not renting out.
Okay,
right.
No.
So there's a hair salon, and then after hair salon, we only have Jennifer, basically. We
Right.
don't have another business or anything like that.
Right, so it looks like in her little space, she's got 168 square feet of for her waiting room and 240 for her office. That's what's on your sketch.
Oh, yeah.
And then, so I totaled this up and that's how, and I think,
You're
Teresa, did you say that you also had done the same thing?
Is there a shared bathroom? Okay.
Yeah, we would like to put another bathroom in, because there's no men's room or women's room. It's just one bathroom.
Yeah, we might put another bathroom in, and Brent has taken that into consideration in his planning. So the system that he is creating with his civil engineer expertise is something that can handle more than what we have going on.
We don't want him to hold back.
So
Right.
not a restaurant, because we would never, it doesn't need to be that big, but enough to handle a 3-bedroom apartment, 2 bathrooms, sinks for the hair salon. So,
Conceptually, I think this looks great. It fits perfectly in with what we're trying to do down the business district with the mixed use. The biggest hurdle is the parking. I think your instinct to ask the adjacent lot owner to see if you can rent some space is a great solution.
yeah,
That's one of the options I was gonna throw out there, if it's something you can do. You're right, you're kind of stuck otherwise. There's not a lot, I mean, there's some on-street parking possibly, but it's not gonna solve the problem for your, for the 10 required spaces that you. I understand you're not gonna be having too many people, but basically we have to size it for the use of the building. And if you're not there someday, someone else will be moving in and we don't know what their use is gonna be. So we have to, if they're using the building with the same calculations, basically, they might have more people there at once, and maybe that hair salon wouldn't be appointment only, or, you know, so we have to kind of plan for that. If it's something, if renting that other lot, a portion of it, that would really solve the problem. If that's something you can.
well, I don't think we'll get 10 spots.
And then perhaps there's, I don't know if there's a variance that you could do.
You'd have to go to the zoning
You'd have to go
for
to
the,
zoning
for a
that.
variance.
But
Yeah,
The
we even
moment
asked
you
the
have a
folks.
client and she's cutting hair and the people upstairs are both home that day, you're out of business.
Well, there's street parking.
I think we just solved it. We can rent some spaces through.
I mean, so they're just new to the community and we haven't realized that the previous owners had already sold it. So we need some time as a Mendon community business group to really welcome them properly. I understand that the planning board has issues with giving parking to customers in the town of Mendon. And that's always been an issue for the business owners. So we have to work together. And they don't know that yet. So I think outside of this meeting, Dave and I can sit down. We own Mendon 64, which is not open during the day. So you, as the employees, should park there, walk to work, allowing some space for your customers. There's also the Lehigh Valley Trail where there's public parking. You could also approach Chris Brush at Mendon Academy. She's got extensive parking behind there that isn't always used. I'm sure she would be happy to rent and could write up some leases. So after the meeting, we're happy to really help guide you to some neighbors that might be a little bit more excited to support your goals here. So we'll help you with that. That's why we're here tonight. I'm
Thank you
sorry we
so
didn't meet you
much.
before tonight, but we definitely will help you
Okay,
to find parking through the private sector since we don't have any public parking available in town. Okay?
Right, well,
wonderful. That's
that's-
amazing.
That's basically a miracle because we had nothing.
I think what nobody is addressing here is obviously nobody visits the Four Corners that often. Because the street parking is never even close. Right. On the west side of 64, on the north and south sides, on Friday or Saturday night, there's still parking for 20 or 30 cars. So I'm not sure why that wouldn't be sufficient.
I would have to respectfully disagree with that.
I'm at the Four Corners every day.
And I am as well.
Okay, well,
You live at the Four Corners?
you know what, I guess that's for nothing. I mean, that doesn't really have any impact on what we're discussing tonight. And actually, we're not even supposed to be discussing your business tonight. We're just kind of giving you some, because it's all encompassed. We kind of wanted to make sure that as you're doing your planning, you're thinking about things like where are people going to park? And can we go to some of the other businesses and those types of things? It's not that the town doesn't want to give you parking. We don't have any parking to give you. So the parking that you have to get is, you just have to get creative with it.
And we're happy to do that. We just are really hoping that the town doesn't say, you don't have 10 spots, we're shutting you down. Because that would be very upsetting.
Well, you know what, from what Hillary said, in the business owners, I think you'll be able
We'll
to,
figure it out.
you'll be able to, I mean, I'm confident that you will be able to figure out where your 10 spots are gonna be, but you do need the 10
Yes.
spot, and you definitely need the 2 spots for the
Apartment.
the apartment. And because of where that area is located, there's not going to be a lot of room for maneuvering because you're on that
Correct.
busy corner. So it's gonna have to probably just be 2 solid spots.
Yes.
Right, wherever they go. I don't know if the owner, whoever owns across the street from that corner, where Touch of Gold is,
We asked them, they said,
oh, they won't. That's even for the apartment, they won't.
I can ask you
It's
that.
already being used for tattoo shopping.
Right.
They
still don't use all those spots, but-
Yeah.
Oh, that's
So
why.
they're using two.
I'm confused because I go through towns and cities all the time and I see multiple
Okay,
businesses.
I'm really
with
sorry, I have to know your name and your address, because I know this, but when we speak, it has to be on record, so.
Melissa and Frederick Levisi, previous owners of the property.
And what's your address now?
6184 Fawn Meadow Street in Farmington.
So what, Fawn Meadow?
Yeah.
Can you spell your last name, please?
Laudise.
Okay, so now we're back to the apartment.
Yes, okay, so awesome. Thank you so much. I think we're gonna go fix the parking. So that's good.
I have a quick question. The parking by the playground, is that the church or the town?
It's
Church.
All of that behind Chris Brush's is church.
Yes.
Okay.
As far as I know, I don't know exactly how much Chris. I mean, obviously, when we visit Chris, we all
Yeah.
park back there because there's
course.
nobody back there,
Right.
but how much she actually has available to lease, I don't.
I'm just
I don't
thinking
know.
like we use the baseball fields and we park there.
Yeah,
And
well,
that's
Pretty
everybody-
good hike, though.
Yeah,
It's a pretty good hike for a customer.
Yeah,
Well-
it's unfortunate that our neighbors aren't responding to our requests to talk to them about it because the parking lot, you know, by the train store is like practically empty.
Is
all
there
the time.
anybody on the other side of the train store? Do they
Yes.
have any parking
Yeah,
in the rear?
Rosa.
Carosa?
Yeah, they park back there too. So,
Oh, they park behind the train?
yes, yeah, because
Oh,
the
okay.
driveway into that parking lot, one side is the train store, the other side is Carosa.
Right, okay.
Yeah, so
And
they
they
both
both
are
share
parking,
that.
yes.
They share that lot.
But there's at
And-
least 8 spots
There is.
empty
There is.
at all times. So we just look at it enviously because we're
We
like,
do.
oh,
We're
it's
very
right
jealous.
there.
Sometimes I park.
Oh,
That sounds like it's gonna be your solution if you can navigate that.
If they could respond to us, you
Yeah.
know, we, I don't know, how many times have you called?
Not a ton, just a two or three, so I'll reach out again.
okay.
It just, when you say it's a long ways to walk, just, I mean, I grew up in a city, I'm so blessed to live in the country now. But when you go downtown to get your hair done, you park 3 blocks away.
Yeah.
You pay, you walk 3 blocks, you don't really care. So we're spoiled out here in like the suburbs, but we're in a rural area and I don't really, people can walk. It's not really that big of a deal. So we just have to reframe it because in the suburbs, everyone has a parking lot, they pull up and walk right to it. When you live downtown, come on, sometimes you walk 5 blocks and again, you're paying $8 to walk 5 blocks and nobody complains about it. They do it. And we need businesses in Mendon, and I think people will park and walk. We have beautiful crosswalks now, and we've really made it more inviting for pedestrian, and it really looks good for businesses to see people out and about. I think it's a healthy visual aspect for the hamlet that we again want to support. So it does seem frustrating when you're not used to it. You pull up to Chris's and walk right in. There's a lot of parts of the world where people walk many blocks to their services with joy in their heart.
Right.
Joy in their
Joy in their heart. Yeah, I guess it, right, and like Hillary says, like, if you've got to walk, you've got to walk, and if your clients want to see you, they'll find you.
So maybe we're.
So,
I have a question for the board, if I may.
Mhm.
Can you tell us what is going on next to Crosby's? I thought that was gonna be a parking lot. Is that public?
that I have no idea. I haven't even heard that there was something going on next to Crosby.
Nobody
They have a,
is.
they're supposed to have a demo permit, as far as I know,
They're gonna knock the house down.
from what I'm understanding,
I talked
but
to
I haven't.
people in the house and they said they had to get out because the house was being knocked down and have a parking lot put in. I just didn't know if that's public parking or not.
That part I don't, I'm sorry, I don't.
Well, you have more information on that, then.
So like, I have phone call back.
Is that-
Research.
You mean just north of Crosby's? Sharon's house?
It's being knocked down,
Really?
parking lot is being put in.
Or Crosby's expand. Obviously, they have to go through the special use planning board, but it's something to think about going forward, what the town needs more than anything right now. Keep
So-
that in mind when they come before you.
Maybe the stipulation would be it would have to be public parking and that would take care of the house.
It would.
Even if we have to pay for it or whatever.
Okay, so,
Back to the,
so let's get back to the special use permit. From what we've talked about, there's a few things that you're gonna have to get in order before we can approve this, or, so one will be, something in writing, I think, from the DOT, whoever you spoke to, Zachary, saying about the parking is okay, because the last word we got was that
yes.
that those spots didn't count. So,
And I did ask him and he said he would put it in writing.
okay, so as long
But
as
he
we-
wanted to see a drawing of where we're imagining these cars are gonna go. So we're gonna send him a drawing and he said he would put it in writing.
okay.
We're
And that
obviously
drawing-
challenged about drawings, so.
So in that drawing,
Sorry.
so, and that's okay, so that leads me into saying that, maybe you could share that drawing also with us. Sure. And it would be to scale.
Yes.
Right, and so that would give us as a planning board a little bit more, idea of exactly where everything is going
What
to
the outside
fit.
will look like.
So,
You mean
that,
the inside to scale or the outside?
well, right now, we're just talking about the parking for the,
Okay.
apartment, so that, you know, you may be asked for that, but that for the retail, but that has nothing to do with
Okay.
tonight, so, so that we would need that, we would need, the drawings regarding your septic with approval from the, 3 agencies that Brent mentioned.
Okay.
And is there anything else that anybody would like to see when they come back before we approve this for them?
The DEC approving the design.
Yep, just that, yep.
Yep.
The DC, the Department of Health, and I guess the DOT has to sign off on it also. Teresa, can you think of anything that jumps out at you that they might need for this apartment, other than those things?
This is minor, but garbage, are you talking that in somewhere where it's?
Oh, so actually Corey did talk to me about that. And yes, we're gonna have a little white, it's gonna be in the courtyard.
Okay, that's what I was hoping for.
Yeah, and actually there's this little jut out, this like weird building area, and it can be tucked under.
Okay.
So yeah.
Right, so you indicated the trash can will be bins, and they'll be put behind decorative screen.
Oh,
Yeah, so that's, you did mention that when you responded
to Corey.
to Corey, so, yes. Anything else, anybody?
Not for the apartment, but for the other portion of the building when you come back. I think there will probably be some signage that we'd have to look at for that. You'd propose.
Yes. I don't think it's my hair walk.
You want to know a little bit?
The hair walk.
Yeah.
So,
Do we need
what
to-
about lighting? Exterior lighting? What's your plan for that?
I haven't thought about it, but clearly it would be needed.
Right, and
So,
we'd have to make sure that it didn't, go to the, too bright for the neighbors or,
right. Well, the lighting for the apartment obviously would be, like right over that,
Mhm.
there's a
door.
light there.
there's already a light there.
Yeah.
But lighting for the exterior of the building, I mean, it gets dark at 4:30, so the hair salon might be open till 7:30 or 8 o'clock. So, we'd like to know what that lighting would look like and what you were proposing for that.
Is there a place to see the requirements for the lighting? Is there something?
Yeah,
Like
you
on the
can go,
website?
you can go right in the Town of Mendon, go to the Town of Mendon website. There is the special use permits, which has a section under zoning. You can also look at design criteria. Brent, do you know of any other place they can look in the code for what they should be looking at as far as lighting? And
There is a section right in the code.
there is
Yeah,
lighting in the
there's-
code, that's what I thought. So yeah, that would be, right.
Yeah,
So that would be right where to go for that, and probably almost any other question you might, you might have.
One thing is, to do the DEC and the Department of Health approval, we'll need a record of seeker being completed. Well, I don't know if you want to catch up with Don Young.
Yes, we catch up with Don about the seeker.
So
and
even
then
if it's a fight to have it, we'll have to have some progress with you.
Okay, all right, so I'll meet up with Don on that one.
What's a seeker?
Sure, environmental.
The State Environmental Quality Review Act.
Okay,
And basically you're making sure that there is any impact on the environment will be mitigated.
We should have a better location map than what this is, showing
Yeah.
the parking, the entranceways where they are,
That's terrible.
dumpster.
Yeah, so, but then you're gonna work on that, right? You're gonna get a better drawing.
Yeah. mean,
I know, like, if you get an actual site plan done, help me here, Teresa, but it can get a little expensive for that, but you might be able to find someone who's able to, do a more professional drawing for you without actually stamping it and going through as large of a expense, but that would be something that, you know, you can just reach out to people and see if they
I'm
can.
thinking my TV.
Okay, well, if it, you know, as long as, well, I got one of those too, so I know exactly. There's like, some of them are better than,
we can't get them to eat a vegetable, so I don't know.
yeah.
Yeah, I will, for sure.
Okay.
Make that legible.
All right, and so, does anyone have any other questions regarding this at this point? No, nobody? Okay, so when, is our next meeting? And I don't know if you want to tentatively put them there or if
Anything really.
busy meeting. And then the next one is the 21st?
Correct, and that will have, you have one.
Right, the special
coming
use.
back, and the others dropped off. And they're going to do, amend their special use permit.
Right,
So you'll have those two in the last meeting of the year. And I have not scheduled for January, and I don't have to.
it's okay, that's okay.
When we close the subject of the apartment, are we, when does the public get to talk?
Yeah.
Well, you know what, I haven't really opened a public
Oh,
hearing,
okay.
but we have been just kind of conversing
Yeah,
here and it's been going really well, so I
Yeah,
just figured we
sweet.
could just kind of
Well,
run with it.
Comment that, and I spoke with the West about this too, a lot of you might have seen in the media, for entry level positions, it's been really hard for us to employ people. So these multi-use buildings in the hamlet of having apartment style living is really helpful for us to draw and attract employees. And I know you need 2 cars for the apartment, but we have to remember that a lot of cooks, chefs, servers, they don't have 2 cars. You know, these are the people that we're actually trying to draw, people that are willing to work for $20 an hour. And by having more apartments, and you know, you approved one for us too, it's just gonna be so nice for us employers to be able to attract people if there's affordable living for them. And that's why I'm saying that the foot traffic is nice for employees too. You live upstairs and you walk across the street to work. I mean, that's partially why we're really here for the apartments. We really need them. We cannot find people to drive out here from the city to work. We want people that live here to work here. And by having affordable housing that's like part of our community is just awesome because it helps people to assimilate to the Mendon ways and, you know, being a part of our town. And so it's really helpful to us. And we just have to remember that not every household does have 2 cars, maybe 1 car, or maybe they come into town and they want to walk to work, you know, because that's why they're moving to town. They can't afford these gas prices, driving back and forth and commuting. And we as restaurants can't afford to pay them. You guys don't want to come and spend that kind of money with us or the West, because we have to pay these astronomical prices for them to cover their gas and their salaries, which are exorbitant. So we're here to show our support for the apartment. Just want to put it on record, because as small businesses, we really need to attract people that want to work and want to live a nice lifestyle and start somewhere. An apartment life is really hard to find out here, and it's a great way to start with an entry-level position and work your way up in your business goals or your career goals. And so we're really excited that Hamlet is really improving on this whole multi-use and affordable housing for people in our community in such an assimilated way. So we're really hopeful that this goes through smoothly for them and, you know, for other business owners in the Hamlet to help us to draw that. Okay, sorry.
It's great, thank you, Hillary.
Just a quick question, when we do meet next, what are the things we need to have for the next meeting? Because it might take us a while to get all the permits and stuff like that.
Right, so what you will need is you'll need to have your septic system
Done?
done, not installed. Not
plan.
installed,
This plan.
but it needs to be a plan, and that plan needs to be approved by those three agencies, DC, DOT, and the Monroe County Department of Health. That needs to be done. You need to have something in writing from
Zachary,
Zachary
Mhm.
about the parking.
that I can probably get to you.
You need to have, the sketch to scale
Mhm.
of the exterior of the building, where that parking is actually going to be. There's no guarantee that when we look at that, if there aren't two solid spots, the board will have to decide whether they want to grant a waiver for that, or because of the location or whatever, that it will need to go back to the zoning for an actual variance. And that can't be determined until after we take a look at that drawing and get that letter from the DOT.
Okay.
So,
So
You
I
know-
believe for us to get everything completed and be ready for you, it won't be, I don't know, but any sense of when it'll be?
I cannot speak
Yeah.
for how long it'll take the
Yeah.
Department of Environmental Conservation.
Yeah, I doubt we'll be available. in the
December
near future.
21st, I think is
Yeah. Yeah.
possible, but, right? But I
Yeah.
think if you want to play it safe and do January, especially given how busy you are.
No, I'm not, please, I'm gonna do a good job, but, I'm just thinking realistically, it's scheduling and.
and here's the other thing, if we have 4 things on an agenda for an evening, I really want to make sure that we're giving you 110%, like tonight,
Right.
it's you. You don't have other people waiting, or you didn't wait an hour and a half for someone else to be done. So, I mean, this is a big deal, and we want this to work for you, and we want it to work for everybody. So,
Okay.
if we could try to do it the first, meeting in January.
Sure.
I don't think we have anything, do we have anything?
No,
Schedule for
it's
that?
nothing, there's people that talk about stuff that have got nothing formal. So
Okay.
that would be, we can do that, or we can talk, tomorrow, I can give you the dates, I apologize. We're gonna be moving to the town hall for our meeting, so. we'll grab it. But do you wanna keep the public hearing open?
I think we should keep the public hearing open for right now, because we haven't really come to any conclusions. So we'll keep the public hearing open.
We'll look into January, I feel like it's the fifth,
I think it's the,
I just.
it's the
wrote it all
fourth.
down.
I think I,
Unfortunately, I will not be able to make that meeting too, so if you need a forum.
oh,
Um,
it is actually January 4th, yes.
Okay, so if it looks
And-
like we won't be able to make that meeting because we're still waiting on stuff, we just contact you and
yes,
reschedule.
and
Well, and
realistically, we want that about a week ahead.
I
of
was
time,
just gonna say solidly the Wednesday before, which I don't know what that
Which is
date
during the
is.
holidays, which is gonna give them adequate time to review. So that's my concern is you can't walk in that night with the information because they need to be able to review it.
So maybe it's February is the realistic.
Well, we do, we do another meeting January 18th.
Oh, okay,
Why don't you do the 18th and you try to have everything to them
By
by
the
the
4th.
4th?
Right, and then if Katrina could get everything to everybody by the 9th,
Right.
and then we'll have plenty of time to look everything over.
So
no pressure, Brent.
if by some miracle, the people that Brent's waiting on to get back to him, if everything falls into place, can we start digging and putting in the new septic? Oh, we can't.
I don't think so, can they, Ron? No, you need to have your special use permit, and things have to be signed and,
That's a question for Don, I don't know.
okay, yeah, I'm
I
not.
thought we had to have the septic in before we get the special use permit. No, it's the other way around.
Well, so what would happen would be your, the condition, one of the conditions of the special use permit, like we would, if we granted the special use permit, there may be some conditions to it, and one of the conditions would be that the septic would have to be in before the permit would actually be issued to you.
But we can't start working on the.
Not until the plans are approved, and how that works with the special use permit. Our attorney's not here tonight, so I would have to double check with him and see.
Well, right, obviously with all the permits, like the DEC, the DOT and Department of Health, they, assuming that they've all approved it, then can we,
That, you know what, I'd have to, you know what, I don't want to speak to that because I really, that's an area I'm not really sure about, but I will speak to, Don
I don't think it's a
tomorrow.
big deal because we would have to have everybody prepared to shovel ready like at that moment. So I don't think it's.
well,
Gonna
I'm
be a
just
big
very
deal.
hopeful that things will fall into place and we can start digging in
Or you can
December.
tell them how far they can go.
Hmm?
Or you can tell them how far they can go before.
Oh, right, Corey can do that, Corey probably too, but Corey's out of town now, till when?
Do that,
So he's gone for a solid week. Okay,
He would know the answer to whether we can start working on septic before then.
Earl seems to think that
Okay,
Corey would be
okay.
able to.
If you have an existing building, just doing work on an existing building with no special beyond that, so you should be able to work on it. You need his approval.
Thank you, Earl. It takes our village, does it not?
So, one other just general question.
Yeah.
The special use, permit that we are requesting for the apartment. I understand that, but do we need to do anything? You had said we're gonna be talking about the office stuff later. Why would we be coming back from that?
So you wouldn't necessarily be coming to the planning board for that, but you would be working with the town
Okay,
regarding that.
like the building permit, that kind of
Mhm.
stuff. Okay,
The building.
fire codes.
Yeah, all of
Okay.
that.
Okay,
So,
sorry, I just was like, wait, do I need to fill out another one? of these?
yeah, no, this is, yeah. So, do you have any other questions before?
No, thank you very, very much. for your
Corey
time.
may require some construction drawings for the interior of the building.
Yes, and we talked to Corey about that.
We have a lot of work to do.
Yes.
And it grows, right? The list
Yeah.
just keeps going.
Yeah, the electric alone is, it's the rat's nest.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, you want it safe, right?
Yep.
So,
Yep, so
And the
addressing,
plumbing, it goes up, down, up. It's so fun. It's, I don't know what they did. So that will all be redone. It will be beautiful.
if we, but then we'll probably file for bankruptcy at that.
let's hope not. Hope not.
Yeah, I mean, we were not prepared for the cost of a septic, which is, we were told $20,000 to $30,000. And so, but we are doing the very best that we can. And we truly are committed to making it safe and good looking and functional. So, we're just taking some time.
Well, that's great. Well, it'll be glad to see you guys come back in January and,
Yeah,
with more information and, hopefully we can move a little bit, more forward.
Yes.
More forward, if that's thing. One more time, anybody else have a question for? Is there any other public comment that anybody would like to make? No? Okay.
I do have a question.
Yeah.
So let's go back a little bit in time with the Chinese restaurant and then the bistro. Did they, I'm guessing, get special use permit?
You know what, I would assume that they did, but I'd have to go back, I mean, that's way before my time, so you would have to go back and look in the minutes and see. Yes.
They did.
They would have had to have, I mean, there's just no way that they,
restaurants.
So I guess my question is, have the rules changed so much or has the board changed so much with the parking issue?
it's
We
written,
had
in
two restaurants side by side.
well, it's
operating.
written in the town code, so, I don't know if the town code has changed since then, but what we have to adhere to now is what's written in the town code.
Right, so
So-
it's probably changed at this point.
I don't know if it has or it hasn't, I'd have to research that, but that's what we're bound by now,
Right.
is that we have to follow the code and, you know, and the code is changed by the town, not by the planning.
Or give a variance.
Or a big variance, which is through the zoning board, so
or waiver.
That's the,
that's the zoning board too, is a waiver, so
it's a whole other board.
it's a whole other word, and a whole nother something. But,
But what's the difference between a waiver and
There is no waiver.
and a,
It's a variance.
it is a variance. I thought it was a variance, but.
oh, there are no waivers.
well, waiver variance will.
So if we come back and say, you know, if we're able to get, say, 8 spots or something, should we work on getting a variance before the January meeting? If we can't come up with 10, 10 seems like a lot. I'm not.
Wait, is it 2 for the apartment?
And
And then-
8 for the,
Oh, and 8 plus the 2? Okay,
Yeah.
so it'd be 10, right?
right. So right now you just need the 2 for your special use permit for your apartment.
Right, but we might have the businesses in already by January.
Okay. What was I gonna say? This is just a personal thing I want to say.
Okay.
That I don't want to see you dump $30,000 into a septic system and for some unknown reason, you can't rent that apartment because the town can't issue you the special use permit for the apartment. I mean, I don't see that happening.
Mhm.
I don't want that to happen, but I would also hate to see you invest a whole lot of money until everything is set. And you know that everything is set. You have your variance for your parking spaces, you know your septic's a go. I don't know, that's just a personal comment that I'm making.
Okay.
Just that I don't foresee, I'm not anticipating you having any problems, but we
Yeah,
don't
we
have-
would-
we don't
we
have
would
crystal
agree.
balls.
With your feelings there.
Yeah, so,
So for January, if we had the 2 spots drawn up, identified, and is that our requirement for the special use permit for January? And then we could still be working on the rest of the parking spots? Is that okay?
yes.
Okay.
Because all we're talking about
Is the apartment?
is the apartment.
Okay.
And I know we branched off just so that you were aware of some of
Sure.
the other things that might be coming down the pike for you, but basically it is just the apartment. The apartment, we needed to address the things that with the HPC, which we did, but we will discuss it again more formally to have a resolution in our minutes regarding that at our next meeting when we meet again. But yeah, the 2 parking spots need to be there with, yeah, and so the parking spots and the septic. I mean, obviously you can't have the apartment if you can't flush the toilet. So,
No, well, the Department of Health doesn't want us to do anything with that stuff. They want it brand new.
right, so that has to be approved and ready to go. But like I said, even if it does get all approved, if you don't have your special use permit, you might want to just consider waiting until you actually had that before you.
Okay,
I don't know. I
That
mean,
makes-
I know
that
you
makes
have
a lot
the
of sense.
businesses too, and maybe so it might not matter, maybe, I don't know.
Right,
But,
right, needed it. Okay.
but,
Mhm.
okay,
Okay, thank you.
thank you.
Right.
So, no more public comment? No. I want to open, you guys don't have to stay. We're gonna just do our general discussion now about upcoming things. You're welcome to stay and listen, but if you're
It has
ready.
nothing to do with us.
Nothing to do with you at all, but if you were so inclined to stay, you certainly
very
could.
nice. Thanks, guys.
Okay, so, you know, we have, we've been here a whole hour. So I just wanted to touch base with you guys on a few things that we've got going on and things that might be coming up.
So, guys, if you can talk outside just to the board, still be heard.
Yeah.
I know you're not gonna record.
Let's just call me.
Okay, so, you know, we talk about these special use permits and we want to know, does it follow the applicant or does it follow the use? So a lot of training, so,
Hold on,
so,
yeah, just thanks for how sorry.
Does it follow the applicant
or the use. Okay, so all the trainings that I have been, said that, say that it follows the applicant. So
The
it, the applicant. But it is definitely gray area. It's an area that, you know, nobody really has it spelled out. So thinking about that, do we want to have it spelled out in our town code? And if that's something we want to have spelled out in the town code, we need to ask the town if they would consider it. We can't change code, they do.
It should be spelled out in the town code. But if we have a hair salon with a special use permit, someone buys that hair salon, the special use permit should go with that new person. Otherwise, it would mean the value of that hair salon, that business is not saleable.
I thought there was a term to a special use permit. It had to be,
So if you said it was a hair salon,
So for example, I know Hillary's Clemenza's special use permit expired, but let's say it didn't, and now Hillary's the new owner. She would just come and reapply for the special use permit for the same exact operation.
yeah, because hers was a short term. It was just for a short period of time or special use.
Who?
Hillary's. You're
No,
talking about the,
I'm talking about the pizzeria that's coming up. She, at her next special use permit.
If it goes unused, so, you know, Mike Yoder stopped using Pimentas, right, after a year, that special use permit expired.
But if it didn't,
Then could she apply to, not a variance rides with the land.
right, a variance rides with the land and not with the, so I'm just saying, one way or the other, do we want it? We don't have to decide tonight, but it's something we should think about and think if that's something that we would like to have, which would help us quite a bit.
yes,
It helps us in things like short-term rentals. I mean, just would help so much if that was clear.
if, say the hair salon gets the special use permit, hangs around for a couple of years and leaves, and now a guy comes in, he wants to put in a blacksmith shop.
Then he needs a new special use permit.
Right. So it has to be a very similar operation. I don't think you can piggyback it, even if it's a similar operation. I think Hillary's got to get a new one for her, even if
that one hadn't expired. That's my personal thought, is that when the ownership changes, the new owner should be the person in possession of the special use permit.
absolutely.
That's just my personal feeling, but
Do we know what neighboring towns are doing? Do we know?
I think from what I understand, it's just a gray area everywhere.
Everywhere.
I can look into some other towns and see, but it just appears that it's come up and it seems to be a very gray area, even between attorneys. The attorney for the New York State Town Association says it follows the person. So if the ownership changes, then it changes.
Yeah. and
John
also-
thought maybe it should be the other way. And so because we've got all these varying, another attorney typed up and he didn't know either. And so with something else we had. So that's why I thought, well, we're here.
let's get it spelled out. And it's up to the person buying that hair salon that they only purchase it after they get the special use permits. That's when they close the deals.
Okay, so do you want me to draft a letter to the town now asking them to do that? Or do we want to think about it and come back and have more discussion about it at our next meeting?
Maybe we mull that over a while, but what if, my feeling is that the special use permit is granted to the person who is applying for it.
That's how I.
So
feel.
Mike had his special use permit. So if it hadn't run out and Hillary comes in and she, now she wants to sell pizza and do pedicures.
Yeah,
Now it's different, but it's the same. And so that could evolve and eventually be something different.
It's a blacksmith shop.
A blacksmith shop that's across the street where the hair
well,
place used to
or
be.
let's just say here too, let's say there's a hair salon there. And I mean, this is like stupid, but because what would a hair salon do? But what if all of a sudden there was like all kinds of like trouble? Like people were like, this is stupid, we don't like this. People in the town were angry, blah, 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 blah. This person says, you know what, I'm out. You neighbors are not worth my time. And out that person goes. Well, we still have, in one way, we still have a special use permit available for a hair salon that no one in the neighborhood wants. I don't.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, hair salon,
Yeah.
that's silly, that's a silly analogy,
Put it with the
but
person.
I think it should go
Yeah,
with the person.
it just makes sense to me.
I'm very curious to know what other towns are doing now.
For the, to the person, okay, I'll,
Well, spelled out, just, we can't decide that, we have to just follow it. It's
What
gonna
the
be in
town.
code, But.
but we want to
should have
recommend,
it clear, yeah.
There's just, if it's not that way, there's just potential for it to go sour.
that's, yeah, so, okay, so we're gonna spell that out and, so I'll kind of put something together, run it by you guys, run it by Don. Then eventually it'll get to the town for their consideration. And then it's totally up to the town of what they want to do with that once we say,
Talking about special use permit.
yes,
The
it
person or
follows,
the land.
right, right.
It's ambiguous.
It's been very ambiguous and it's been very gray, a very gray area. And what we're kind of discussing is that we're thinking that it should follow the person, the owner. So if,
The intent has always been to follow the owner and the land. And the special use permit is not transferable. So if we can take a look at that code to,
mhm,
if you can point out to me, help me see where the ambiguity is coming in.
well, so, is it Katie Hodgkins, from the town association, the New York State Town Association? She said that the special use permit always follows the person, which is what I had always been trained in my training, that was, it always followed the person. So in the event that Clemens's special use permit had not run out, Hillary would not have been able to just go in and start running a pizzeria there because she's a new owner. So she would have to come to the town, to the board, and ask for a special use permit to run her operation as a pizzeria.
You remember Ari, when he was trying to, and we had the issues with, he was gonna start contracting it out, and we were like, it's all through you.
Right.
Black Horse Bistro was with Vicky Allen.
Mhm.
It's Vicky Allen and that building, everything that we have done.
Right.
That I recall.
So-
Has been with the owner and the property. But if you.
So, well,
if
it
you're
got a
seeing
little
ambiguity-
gray, and I'm trying
Oh,
to remember what the example was, but Don said, oh, no, nobody has to, once you have a special use permit on that building, then it just goes with the land. It just, the person doesn't have to come in and reapply. But that was different than what Katie had said. And then he was in touch with another, it might have been Hillary's, attorney,
yeah.
who said, you know what, this is a really gray area. It's never really spelled out anywhere.
I talked with Corey about that Monday,
Oh, Ian,
and I think what we're talking about is one line in the code for special use permit that says it is not transferable.
okay.
I think, I don't know.
I mean, I'm thinking that, right, that it's just plain old, yeah, that's it. It's not transferable. So if you have to apply again, if you. Yeah,
Okay, so what if, so Mike Yoder still owns Clemenza's. He's giving permission for her to operate until they finally close on the building. What if his special use permit did not expire? He's allowing someone else to operate the business, but he still owns it. Does special use permit have to maintain the same name? You know what I'm thinking? You
Well,
know,
no, because then it would be, he's still.
he's still the
He's
owner,
not-
He would sub it out, but it still be his.
right?
So
So
that
he's
would-
still the owner.
That's what I want to know. So even if someone else is running the business, or still owns it and is leasing it.
Mhm.
So kind of transferable, but not the same with the owner. Yeah. Just there's some.
But now
interesting
you,
things
now
happening,
there's a twist on that,
Right,
because the older ones were conditional use permits,
right,
which came through the
zoning
zoning board
board.
of appeals.
correct,
That carries with the land.
right. Which that parking thing, that would, if they did get a variance, if it comes down to it, that was, no matter what business is in there,
Right,
they only would be the one spot or whatever it would be.
right. But I don't, whatever, that's down the, whatever.
Yeah, I think they have the apartment taken care of.
Are we happy with the egress on that apartment? The
Um,
windows are apparently.
you know,
she's saying that they're
that-
double- I mean, Corey would nail that, but I.
right,
You know, but it's upstairs, what do you, I can get out this window, so
You can jump and
Jump
break
to
two
my
legs,
death.
yeah. I mean, it's not that high, but that would be.
it is if you're 70.
Well,
Yeah.
Well, and an emergency escape window. So if, that's a Cory thing, but,
that is a crazy.
but I think they're fine with the exiting.
Just make sure it's stipulated in the condition so that it doesn't fall on him trying, does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like must cure to fire marshal, something along.
Yeah.
Maybe spelled out.
And the other thing is that one door, not the door that they're all big on, but the one to the right of it, that looks small. That's gotta be at least a 3.0.
That was the one that's going into her,
Yeah.
again, that's Cory.
that's
And
what-
the
but he's
design
not gonna-
criteria.
And again, as I mentioned, I'm not exactly sure, but it might have to be, they might have to swing out. I mean,
I don't think she's gonna use those doors aren't gonna be usable doors.
well,
She's
one-
just,
the one
she
on the
just,
left, they thought, I mean, to me, it
The
looks
one on
like
the
a Home
left.
Depot bifold door.
that's the one that the one on the left,
Yeah,
the white one, that's there now, the
Yeah.
double,
yeah, that.
right, so
That looks
that's the
like-
one that the historic board wants them to keep. They don't want them to get rid of that for aesthetics, and so they said they would keep it, but they're not going to use it.
So
It's
what's
not-
behind this door? What's behind door number 1?
Her office, I think is what she said.
That's a future office.
I'm still trying to figure out how the patients are coming in. Like, none of that makes sense.
But see, we can't, we're not consider, we're only, like,
That's all
we're only
Cory.
here for the apartment, I know. So then the other thing I just wanted to say too is that, I was kind of looking over the, comprehensive plan, not kind of, I was looking over the comprehensive plan. I don't know if you guys have familiarized yourselves with it yet, and you all about it. The comprehensive plan. The vision.
It's
for
on the
the-
website.
It is on the website. I have it printed here. I've been looking at it. As we're getting into some of these subdivisions and subdividing of land in different locations. The one that comes to mind is the one on Lanning Road. I think it was a Donaldson's, and they wanted the water run to their
A million miles.
to their property, and they're said the water is in poor quality and things. So going through and I thought, well, that might be reasonable for future developments. Then thinking about Miles Square and Taylor Road, that corner, like maybe if that's gonna be developed, maybe water should be brought there. But then I looked at the comprehensive plan, and it kind of discourages extending sewers and water, because it takes away from it encourages development instead of,
It will discourage development when they get the cost, putting the water in also.
well, but I'm just going by what the
I
comprehensive
know,
plan
I know.
says, right? Like, so that has to be our,
You're right.
the thing that,
Developer comes along, he goes, oh, there's water? They're gonna jump on it.
Right,
so,
but there's no water and you have to put it in. Oh, see,
or you don't have to put it in.
Yeah.
I mean, because then you have to
you're
do,
still gonna get the development. You don't have to put the water in that we're gonna develop.
right. So, so that's something as we're thinking about these future developments. The one thing I did see, is that the one area that around the hamlet and the, extension of the hamlet is, they want like walkability for that whole area. So Taylor Road, down Miles Square, back down 251 to get back into the hamlet.
Is it sidewalks?
No, yes, they want it walkability. I mean, we really probably should look at this more closely another time if you guys have had some time to look at it. But yeah, basically, they want that type of infrastructure is something that they want to see in that area. So I'm not saying that, we have to have everybody, if somebody wants to build there, but it's something we should be cognizant of. And we
Right.
should be aware that when we're looking at different things, that we should be thinking about what the future plan for the town of Mendon is, and the hamlet of Mendon, and also the village of Huntington Falls. So,
Hillary made some great points. And I get it. But I can't get it out of my mind that this project here seems like it's really shoehorned in there a little bit too much. It's easy to say all these things about how the dynamics will be until it's up and running.
You know, it really, I don't know, I can't, I mean, my
I mean, the
opinion is
setback-
nothing.
I mean, Corey points out about the setbacks. I mean,
There's
that's
none.
grandfather, but
No,
there's none.
I'm new here, so I'm just gonna bring up something. In any other town that I've ever worked with, we have to submit actual architectural drawings. This
Yeah.
is very hard to work with. This is not.
This is
something
almost insulting.
that is.
Yeah.
yeah,
So,
But
I mean, it's a requirement. We will get turned away if we submit something.
and
like
they
this.
should, so that's the other thing.
I think we have to have
Moving
a better
forward,
standard.
right, moving forward, any special use permit has to be submitted with a site plan. That's written in our code. It has to be a site plan. It doesn't necessarily have to be a stamped site plan, but it has to be a site plan. It has to be to scale,
And it can't be handled.
and it cannot, absolutely not be hand drawn.
I need to work on our application that's on the website, and what we use is, I actually read word for word, I was like, all of it is, it's very incorrect.
Right, so we're just gonna need to like work on getting things tightened up here and being very strict. Which now will segue me right into, I was looking at when our meetings are.
Yes.
And I think any information coming, like for these people, 2 weeks before the meeting date,
Okay.
they have to have it to you 2 weeks before the meeting
And
date.
I'll do cutoff.
By the following Monday, it should be compiled, like whatever you just gave us, either in an electronic form that you can mail out all together. Or Corey said he would be more than happy to deliver it to everybody's house,
Sure.
so that we all have the information ahead of time so that we can look at it. Because when it comes in the email, I feel like we lose pieces, we don't see everything. You know, oh, here's a response to this, but that was from something that was sent 3 weeks ago.
I talked to Michelle about it and trying to figure out, she goes, well, I would just send it, you know, the Monday of the meeting, one big electronic thing. I mean, that's giving them 2 days to look at something.
You know, I was thinking I was thinking the 10 days before. So I was thinking if they had to get their material to us the Wednesday, let me just look at these calendars. So, let's say for our, February 15th meeting, everything would need to be to you by February 1st. So
Okay.
2 weeks before.
Now, this is the only thing I'm gonna say, when we ran into tonight, where Don wanted the CEO comments rebutted, you know what I mean, and to us at a certain time, it's gonna come, the only thing you're gonna get probably last minute is the county response, because they come in the Monday before your meeting.
Well, you know what,
Right.
but
But if I sent everything, what I'm trying to say is, so something tonight, even if it was ready for approval, if we needed her to address Corey's comments, regardless, they're gonna have to come back.
right, because everything needs to be there by that Wednesday, the 2 weeks before, and then, if that would be the 1st of February, let's say.
Right.
And then that following Monday, hopefully that gives you enough time, Monday or even Tuesday, that you could get everything together and disseminated to who it needs to go to.
Hard copy,
It depends on, I mean, I'm happy to have it electronically.
I mean, both. So you want, so I won't be bringing anything to the meetings. You
Right,
already have
because
it.
it's too hard to look at everything at the last minute.
Right, which is why when I have stuff that comes in, that's coming.
That's why
in,
you
I try
email
to,
it
you
and
know,
then
post
it's
it.
just, yeah.
But it's a lot. I mean, I want it to be the easiest on you all, that you adequately have time to, but you gotta review it, people, okay?
Well, I really, because that's the thing, I
Here's
do
my
want well, I know, but you know what, if it's
No, I
all
know.
together, then and we have time.
Right,
You know, Hillary can't come running in here at the last minute with a file going, oh, here's how I'm fixing it.
And I think that, okay, so that's something that, how do we get that's a
Don't
thing?
be afraid to tell them that you need time.
Well, and that's why I think saying that,
We need time.
well, that's why I'm thinking that if we're hard and fast on our 2 weeks before.
Been pretty good about that.
The thing is, they're gonna submit And the way it's always been is it's 5 weeks, right?
For
Depending.
the initial.
And that is only, because I talked to Mary about it before, and that is only because the county takes at least, they want a month, they barely get it done in a month, it's 5 weeks. So the concern is, they're gonna give me everything, and if anything else is, okay, I gotta think this through, how would that work? So they're gonna come in, they got 5 weeks.
Said they wanted to put 2 weeks ahead of time. So you tell any applicant, the planning board told me they want everything in hand 2 weeks ahead of time. If you don't have it to me, you're not on the schedule.
Okay, so they do 5 weeks, it goes,
Make
everything
me the
that
other person.
goes to the county.
Yeah.
Corey's gotta get his comments in and everything, if something has to be done.
Well, yeah,
And
Well, I mean,
Mayor replied, and then
don't it. It's just, everything needs to be 2 weeks before the meeting.
Okay.
So if it's a new application and you know it's gonna be 5 or 6 weeks, don't put them on
Well, and that's the problem is, and I told Michelle, I got to take off the due dates. We've got it, that can be public knowledge. It's just got, right? Or it
No,
has
I
to
think it
I
has to
think you
be.
have to.
Do you see where the problem is?
Don't you
People
think?
bring it in and they're like, I got it here on the 7th for the, whatever it is.
And it's fine if everything's there.
Well,
And I
right.
think this is something that the town board is talking about cleaning up to give, because again, there appears to be ambiguity in the code to where it was always the planning board officer and the planning board clerk were determining that these things were complete. And now, I don't know when we started shifting, but now it's almost coming to you guys. And Teresa's going, I can't read this, hand scratch, you gotta give me a site plan. So the plan is to clean up that ambiguity, to give the cover back to the planning board clerk and the planning board officer.
And so we're
So
not,
Clean up before it gets to you.
And that's what it should be. And what it needs to say is a completed as judged. And just because you turn it in doesn't mean it's complete. And that's been the biggest battle.
yes, and definitely the site plan has to be there. And it can't be that, whatever, that sketch, it can't be, has to be a site plan.
So
There's some very nice hand drafters out there.
There are.
And there are some very nice ones, but there's drafters out there that'll.
You can draw yourself.
$30 an hour.
You saw my building I put up.
Yes.
I drew that, but I sat down and spent some time on it. It looked like a blueprint when I was
And
done.
and I think Corey has been giving people out the aerial images. If he gives that to scale, and even if they draw on that to scale, give you guys something to work with. It's not, what'd you say, the tracing game? What am I?
Yeah.
What am I saying?
How do you get, it's in highlights, how do I get?
Yeah,
from here to here?
right?
So the list, the cover page on any application for a special use permit or site plan or all that. How do I get that revamped and clear? Does that go town board? Because it's really, it doesn't address public hearings. The charge, everything about it, what's required isn't really what it is that you want. Do you know what I mean? To spell out, it must be a computered, that's not the word, but you know what I mean, drawing of a site plan. Do you know what I mean? Because if they,
I've heard this before coming out of my mouth.
okay, I think you should have say it again for you.
No, I'm enjoying
That's what I'm
it.
trying to do. It's like, it's black and white. It's not, up to me to make the decision because then people are like, well, this isn't what it says. Does that make sense? And it's kind of hard to argue with what the town letterhead says on something when I'm like, well, it's just not.
Well,
But I think the roads were right, Farmington, they laugh you out.
Yeah,
They
they
won't
want
even
that.
accept it.
Most
They won't
times-
even take your time.
yeah,
Most towns, it has to be a stamped set of permit drawings. You don't even, they don't even submit it, but we have to have them stamped and ready to go. Pittsford, you have to have a full set of permit drawings. Greece, you have to have a full set.
so maybe that's what we need to do too.
You can look at they have all their requirements on their websites, not that we're gonna copy other towns, but
But no, but that's.
you can see right there how they call it out, and they say, stamped by a registered
Yes.
architect or engineer, measured drawings to scale. You can look at their wording if that helps you.
I don't even think Brighton will take half size, they gotta be
No,
full size.
yeah, and they're
prints.
also very specific about how they're folded.
Yeah, and
Not that, we have to do exactly that. Not that we have to do that.
I'd like to see some other also needs to be electronically because those big drawn, I can't get those to the county. Do you know what I mean? That's just my.
Oh, yeah.
What?
Yeah, PDF. You could definitely say PDF format and hard copy drawings. That's very common.
Yeah, I don't know about requiring a stamp.
Right,
I mean,
right.
I've done a lot of I was in business for a long time and did a lot of my own drawings and I'm nobody.
There
But
are
if you're
people that can
conscientious-
sketch it with a pencil,
Sure.
and then there's other people that cannot.
Right.
Like that.
So if you have a standard, the stamp drawings, I think might come into play more with some of the site drawings if they're calculating drainage and all that stuff.
Oh,
You want to know that
absolutely,
it's been
absolutely.
calculated and all that. You know, but we might not want to go that far, but it has to be better than what we've been getting. Tell me that.
Yes.
Why, what's wrong?
But, back to your walkability and the comprehensive plan and going around, or I think we talked about that a good bit in the comprehensive plan. And I think something that the planning board could help us with is utility easement. Like the Pattersons or something along those lines. If you could give us a 20 or 30-foot utility easement that we could use for sidewalks or water in the future.
Right,
You know, that would,
Yeah, now would be the time to get that stuff done.
yeah.
right,
It's a lot easier to get a 30-foot easement when you're
yes.
subdividing than having it.
And so that's why I said, you know, I always hear we should always go back to the comprehensive plan and see if what we're approving actually supports our comprehensive plan or not. And so I think that I just wanted to be sure that everybody who's on the planning board is aware of how important to document the comprehensive plan is as we're considering things. It's something we can always go back to and say, well, that doesn't really fit with our comprehensive plan. You know, I was at the infrastructure, I thought, you know, to bring the water over in the sewers and whatever was a great idea. But then as I read through, that's not what the people in the town really want. Unless there's documented, water issues.
There's a balancing act. I don't know.
And I'm not sure what it is either, but
It's not 2 homes. Is it 10 homes? If you're building 10 homes and it's only 1,500 foot away, you know
well,
what?
right.
That's not unreasonable.
But then I think the discussion regarding the comprehensive plan was that, well, we don't want people to build 10 houses, right? So we want to discourage that. So we don't want them bringing the water over.
You want, well, I always said, people tell me this is a buzzword. We want smart growth.
Yes.
We don't want 10 quarter-acre lots. But if you want to lay this out nice and don't change the landscape and keep the environment the way it is and build 10 homes, run with it.
Well, you know, and I'm thinking about that, the plan that was for Miles Square and Taylor Road there. And, you know, and I'm reading through the comprehensive plan and they want to keep the rural look and the aesthetics of our town. And I'm thinking, well, building 8 houses right on the road is not really, does that really keep our,
You know what Corey did on West Bloomfield Road? What, 6
Yeah.
houses?
Yeah,
That looks fine.
yes.
I mean, that doesn't look like 6 houses in a row.
No. Yeah, it's spaced well. Now.
They're staggered in and
Yeah.
out, there's a pond.
Yeah, if on Miles Square and Taylor, if it's done correctly,
Well,
that could be another Mendon Farms. And Mendon
well,
Farms
if we're
is laid
talking
out
about
very well.
building sidewalks and having.
right, and so we're putting
Hamlet,
that, and then, and also the comprehensive plans, in several places says, please do not, you know, stay away from cul-de-sacs. They want connectivity between and so these are all things that like, we really, I mean, we don't have to make any decisions tonight, but or talk about anything specific, but it's something we should be more aware of when we're considering.
Good point. That's a good thing to bring up.
And so then and then we're gonna go, because it's getting late.
I just have one more, I just want to beat the dead horse a little bit
Yep,
more
that's okay, beat it.
on the parking. And now this is what keeps coming to my mind. So.
Well, you
say-
heard Hillary, the town just won't give anybody any parking.
Say they procure 6 or 8 spots in back of the train store. Train guy sells his business. The next person comes in, they don't have to honor that. You know what I see? Are we gonna be putting things into place that it's a balancing act, like, okay, this will work for now, hold your breath. You know, you can park 2 over at Touch of Gold, you can park 4 in back of the train store, you can do 3 here, and we're good to go. And then all of a sudden, that starts falling apart and we didn't protect
I
ourselves.
think you have the 2 dedicated for the apartment.
That's where I'm going, because the rest of it has nothing to really do with the planning board, right?
The parking is down to ambulance.
Does it have to be at?
Or is that reasonable to do it that way?
I think if they work together in the businesses, that's reasonable.
Okay,
There's no silver bullet down there. We tried to buy that building.
that would be great if,
64.
I mean, I'm sorry they're tearing Sharon's house down, but
We had it laid out for 28 spots. We could have fit 28 cars.
Where
in
was
there.
this?
The building that's just north of the gas station.
Oh, the house.
It's- Yeah.
is that what,
38.
is that what's gonna happen?
It went up for sale and the town putting a bid on it. We can only bid as much as it's appraised for. And I think it was the gas station outbid us.
Another gas station?
No,
I
the
think
Crosby's, and so Crosby's probably wants that for more parking for them or expansion.
We don't know, and I'm not
No.
even 100% certain. Did they give their demo?
So we're definitely not getting that?
The town did not get that. That this was,
And the
January?
businesses on the trail there? Like-
yeah, it was connectability to the trail, everything. It was like, it hit the comprehensive plan and it was,
Oh, what a
it
bummer.
was exciting. Parking in the hamlet.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So the
So,
Crosby's franchise bought that?
So I would not, I don't know what their plan is. I would only be surmising. I'm sure you're gonna see a new gas station down there, like they're building all over the place.
you know, it's too bad that the businesses in, the Hamlet didn't get together and buy that building from the Songs and demo it and get themselves some parking on that corner there. Oh, you can't because it's on that corner and you're not gonna be able to do that. Yeah, you're not gonna be able to do that.
And that's why they were trying to sell them all 3 together, right?
Yeah, yes.
Yeah.
Sounds like, never understood that.
Where can they not park? Because we were talking, is it 251, is it 64, one of them, we can't, even though we do park on it, we're not supposed to. 61.
I think
Wait a
it's
minute, Hillary's husband was saying that even on a Friday and Saturday night, there's 20 to 30 spots on
There
the
is no,
road.
have you ever tried to go to,
There's not 3.
have you ever tried to go to, the cottage for dinner?
Yeah,
And even during the week? I mean, sometimes I parked at Crosby's or I park in the, at the, no, not at Touch of Gold. I park at the church.
20 to 30
That little
spots
white,
there.
that little white church that's down on 251.
St. Catherine's of Siena.
No, not
Oh,
St. Catherine's, the other one,
St.
St.
Mark's.
Martin's or whatever. I'll park there sometimes. There is no parking on 20 spots on the road.
20 to 30.
Oh, well, I'm sorry.
I don't think there's that.
No.
Okay, so anyway, guys, moving forward here. So our next meeting is going to be the Giles site plan. And it was already approved.
It's already approved, he just didn't move on it, his resubmit the same, he's not
It's
changed
exactly the
anything
same.
that Brent signed.
Whatever happened to Coates?
He's got his maps. He's divided with his half acre lot in the Army.
That's gonna go?
It did.
The zoning board approved the lot and you all approved the subdivision.
That's fine, cool
Yeah,
project.
so that's there. So you have Giles, you have,
Haas,
and that's, Glenn Thornton coming for that one.
they're on
And then you have
Cole,
Hillary for Bumpus Pizza.
right, so the Haas are on Cole Road and they have the EPOD 3, 8 and 9. Just
Correct.
to, you know, just to think about. Yeah, Hillary's got her Bumpus Pizza and, we want to be sure that we, she's another one. What did she submit? I was looking at that today briefly. She doesn't have a site plan. She has some type of a drawing. I'm not really sure what that is,
It's,
but we've already taken it. So we pretty much are gonna have to work within.
Starting January, starting
Yeah.
2023. new
But
house.
you can say that nothing is getting approved, that you don't have to, you know what I mean? Especially special use permits, I feel like they're more.
Well, I mean, I just feel like we don't need to be bullied by by anybody. And, you know, we have to adhere to what our town code
You
says.
have every
And
right
I'm
to say
very
that.
sorry that different places like businesses in the hamlet don't have parking. I would love for them to have parking. I don't know where we pull that out, but it's in our code that if you have 150 square feet of retail space, you need a parking spot.
It's the
A
same.
dedicated spot.
And it's especially for residents, it comes down to a safety issue.
I was wondering, does anyone talk to the church, the diocese? Like in the evening, there's probably going on at St. Catherine's. I mean, if that
I don't know. I mean,
I-
but that's what too, but they still have to have their spot, even if they can. I mean, people will park at the church. People will park they'll park, like you said, when we park at Touch of Gold, I park at Crosby's, but that's just what we do. If we get a ticket, we get a ticket and then we're like, oh God, or someone says something. But as far as the town goes, when we're approving things, we need things to be approved based on what's in our code. And not the fact that somebody might not pay any attention to that. That's out of our hands. But,
And it's for a living place, that's why with the apartment especially, that's the.
well, that apartment needs to have something dedicated, if she's gonna have that on her side of her building, right? That's a very busy intersection right there. And she can't just try to squeeze 1.5 in Hillary. Well, they won't even have a car because, you know, they're just gonna live here and work here. Well, we don't know that. And what, I mean,
Earl can even park his truck.
This
in any of
tenant,
the spots.
what about the next tenant? Might have 4 cars.
right, exactly. So, I mean, whatever. So that's coming up. And then on the 21st, right before Christmas, is a Christmas gift. We get Robert Powell coming back with his dog training
Dog thing.
facility.
Remember, that public hearing is still open, I don't believe you closed
I
it.
don't think we did.
Because otherwise we'd have to act on it when we close it.
Mhm. So we
And I
left
gave
it.
them they wanted to.
They want to add another outbuilding
Yeah,
to their.
outbuilding and make an extension.
Yeah,
There's two.
there's 2 things that I didn't really have a whole.
Hold on, does he have to reapply and resubmit monies?
Who, Robert Powell?
How?
Nope, because we left that public hearing open and it was him and then he decided.
So
wasn't
he
that
didn't
was gonna-
officially abandon.
He did not officially abandon, it was still sitting in my drawer. He wasn't going to, it wasn't, you know, so yeah, we could.
I didn't have a problem with that. I know some did, but
Well, again, we really need to look at what's in the code.
yeah. Damn.
How many dogs you want to have on a piece of property at any given time? And you know, I go by it's funny when people bring these things to us, then you start going by their areas, right? Their homes or whatever. And I look and I see what he wants to do. 12 dogs on that corner. I don't know. I don't think so. I mean, it's not like he's on 50 acres and he's way off the road.
Oh, that reminds me. Also, someone,
Oh, God, help me.
well, remember how someone wanted that informal discussion with you? Rocco, and it comes under Josh Colley. And he, was denied something by the zoning board because he wanted to have horses, he didn't have enough lot size and the manure and this whole thing. So because he couldn't do his business, now he's going to do a subdivision instead on Pittsburgh London Center, that's where he is. So he just wants an informal discussion with you, which is what, unfortunately, what we have in our code does say he would issue you drawings, he would write notes on it and give it back to him. Then Don's like, no, the minutes are going to be the legal document. That makes me very nervous too. Do you know what I'm saying? That it would be down to minutes. So what our Brent, I'm sorry to do this to you, but what is it, an informal discussion? And do we ever want to just repeat that from us? So what
Formal
is,
discussion, really kind of for a larger subdividing.
and that's what he's doing. He's got these lots.
Well, no, I mean, like, Going from
agree.
one to like, yeah, 20 or 30
That's
and
what
coming
it's-
up with comprehensive conceptual plans.
Because I think he wants, the idea is to do this, and you can just say, this is never going to work, you know what I mean, and then it's just.
My
dead.
concern is he's talking subdivision, not talking site plan.
No, and that's
So
correct.
the board
That's
can- the
another,
board
like-
can look at it and go, yeah, that's an RA1, it's 1 acre. That's all you can say.
Right. But
I guess you
he's-
can say you've got a lot of E-pods on there. Are you sure that's gonna be a buildable
And
lot?
the building, but now you already warned him that those lot sizes are not, they're too small. Whatever, what is it, 60 feet, 200 feet, what is the number?
Oh, the width, yeah, all you can do is meet zoning,
That's it.
meet zoning or doesn't.
Well, he's not here yet, right?
No, and I told him there's no way they were coming on the 7th, so they're gonna be at Christmas.
Okay, guys, so that's more stuff to think about, but,
But I haven't gotten the correct information from them, and I told them I need it, minimum of 2 weeks, minimum, so. The sooner the better.
And you noted I will not be here January 4th. So if we're voting,
January 4th.
everyone else thinks they'll be here though? And we'll have-
I will get your meeting stuff too. I just finished it with a 5-week date for zoning and.
Officially, that meeting won't happen until the organizational meeting
Right, that's what.
of January 2nd. That's when we set all the dates.
Right, but I was told that, as John said, no matter, I know, it's a
It's
little
gonna be
bit.
there, but it's not officially
We're
until
going
January
back
2nd.
upstairs to zoning and planning.
Okay, so does anybody else have any other general discussion before we, someone makes a motion to close this meeting and Katrina goes home and has some bourbon?
No, I gotta go back, I gotta get back up and
Just one thing,
What's that?
that Brent mentioned, the easements, we should put easements on every site plan that comes through, whether it's just the frontage or the rear corner or something adjoining other properties to minimize the lots, so the property can be advanced into another piece of land for the roadway or development, so we don't have that cul-de-sac.
For site plans?
Yeah, using the easement to connect.
Properties on the back corner, the left side, right side, somewhere on there, we should have an easement connecting all these properties. So we don't come in with cul-de-sac, that's down, cul-de-sac, cul-de-sac.
So you can rip
Good
the
idea.
cul-de-sac out.
Plus the easement along the frontage. Even if there's not water or a sidewalk, put the easement there, they're gonna agree to it. 10 years from now,
Easier to do it now than
yeah,
later.
right, when you have to fight with every homeowner, 10 years from now, you're gonna have a whole different group designing what the town's gonna be, and then 20 years more, even more, put it all in place now, it'll be done.
Yeah, that's a great idea. That is a great idea, Earl. So lots of things for us to, digest and think about.
that comprehensive plan is on the website?
Yes, it
Okay.
is. When you pull up the screen, it's on the right, lower right.
Okay.
And, yeah, and it's 187 pages, but there's a lot of it that's just a lot of pictures.
Of
and stuff,
wholesome
too.
goodness and entertaining reading.
Look at it, I got it. Who wants to make a motion to close this meeting?
I move to close this meeting.
Teresa's like, I am out of here.
Charlie Bond, 3002.
Okay, there we
All
go.
in favor? Yeah.
Yeah, I-
Good.
Any against?
Yeah,
No.
we're done.
Okay, we're good.